Greg is commuting in from, the traffic's busy on his way in from the purchase, I think. But,
Just finished it.
start the streaming now.
Shower.
The dark and dreary night, people at home are probably
Hardly put together.
watching this.
They might be, yeah.
Can you see how many people are on? That's it? That's it? It used to be pretty cool to watch it, now it's like,
Really?
we're back to Netflix.
There's a lot of new content on Netflix, so I can understand why.
Yeah, there is, something new came up.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. How's traffic?
It was fine.
Okay, just,
Yeah, just running late. Sorry.
You're on time.
yeah, you're not late.
Yeah, yeah.
7 o'clock. We're gonna give just a few minutes. I think, Holly's running. A few minutes. All right. We'll start it anyway, I think it's a big deal. Okay, I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting January 5th, 2023 to order at 7 PM. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I'd like to, I would entertain a motion from the board, from someone to add to the agenda under new business. Add a motion to add to new business the hiring of Joanna Matea to the position of the Board of, on the Finance and HR Administrator in the Fiscal Office. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, it carries, and we'll add that to new business. Next up is the public comments. If there's any public comments, if you could come up, state your name, and limit it to 2 minutes. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, you can use it a second time for a public comment. Hearing no public comments, you have your announcements and correspondence in front of you. Next up is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? John?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda signified by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. Minutes of December 15th, 2022. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Thank you, Justin.
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? And it carries. Next up is discussion of the 2022 Plan of Conservation and Development. And if Judy Lynch would like to come up, she's here to go over this with us. Judy, there seems to be some concern amongst the board of being able to look at this. The link is broken,
The link is broken?
Yeah.
so nobody has been able to see this.
Well, I haven't been notified otherwise, so I apologize for that.
So do we have do we have the document?
I do have a document that I've been working with all the grammatical changes and editorial reviews that I have thus far. I apologize for not having that available to you, but had I heard response back from anybody, I certainly would have made the link available.
It was on the link at one time?
The link that I forwarded to all the commission members, as I, did
Yeah.
to you in December, was the final draft link.
And you don't have, and Betsy doesn't have it. Okay, so we're gonna have to get the final draft to the Board of Selectmen.
I can certainly provide
I
that.
think we would do that, and then we're gonna have to, does that draft, is that, so you can explain what we have.
What we have at this point is the draft, the final draft that went out and for everybody's eyes to see, and there's no substantive changes, it's just purely grammatical errors and editorial changes that anyone might have. And hopefully, we've really gotten them all by the people that have been courteous enough to respond back. And it's been a tremendous undertaking, especially coming midstream or at the end of this project. But I think that we're on target, and I don't know what else to offer you at this point.
So the
Can I
pers-
answer any questions that anybody might have?
What are your next steps from here? When's the public hearing scheduled, and when do you need to hear from the
The
board?
statutory requirements would be, our tentative adoption date is the 21st of February. So the plan then has to be posted on the town website, as well as submission to the town clerk by the 17th.
February 17th,
No, January 17th.
January.
So the first public hearing notice publication would be going out on the 8th of February. The second notice would be going out on the 15th, so we can then adopt it on the 21st of February. And that's all within the, it's all prescribed by the Connecticut General Statutes.
So the
The
date's
time.
the 21st is the date of your hearing? Your
That would,
public hearing?
yes,
Okay.
that's what it's slated for at this time,
That's the public hearing.
for adoption.
Okay, so we have time. So we, I mean, I guess it would make sense to circulate it again. I'm not sure I think there was probably a glitch in the link, and then we didn't realize this was on the agenda tonight until it became too late to correct that with you. So apologies for that. So if you can circulate that to everybody, but also, one of the things that I think needs to happen before our next meeting, when this is on the agenda, it should also be posted on our website with our agenda. So if the public wants to come comment to us, they can. As the draft plan or,
Well, this
whatnot.
isn't really for public comment. This would be purely for the Board of Selectmen, because you're acting in the power of the municipality. I mean, all the public comments and everything have been gathered and culminated to make this document happen, to get it to this point. So all public comments have already been,
through the planning commission.
Through the planning
Under the
commission.
statute, the Board of Selectmen could have its own public hearings on the document if it so
yes, they
chooses.
can, if they choose to do so.
Right. So, personally, I'd like the information to be available to the public before we talk about it, so that if the public has anything they'd like to say to us in our deliberation or comment on it, that they can do so.
So we can have our own public hearing
Yeah.
as a Board of Selectmen, separate from everything else. And that will be determined by this board if they want to have a public hearing.
But it's not necessary.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's necessary, but we can hear the public. So the question is, so I would ask that the draft, the final,
The final
Draft.
draft,
has that been corrected for grammatical and,
It has not as of yet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be delivering it tomorrow to SLR for them to
for
start.
them to, so what we will get is what I would, basically, if I could say that this way, an unclean corrected copy for spelling and grammatical.
Yes, if I distribute it tomorrow.
Okay,
By the 17th, you could have a clean copy of the final draft
January
with all the
17th.
changes, editorial changes.
Okay. Which is 10 days away, or, well, so I guess it's, what would I would ask, what would the board, would you prefer to get the grammatically spelling checked, clean copy ahead of now, or would it be the 17th, when it's supposed to be delivered back from the,
To be posted on the,
to be, and posted on
For
the
public.
17th?
So pursuant to the statute, we have 65 days to review the document. I understand it was submitted to us, there was a link, none of us got it. So there's a technical question as to whether that 65 days has started running or not, but I think we have plenty of time to not have to address that question if we receive the document like this week. I mean, that's my personal view, others may have other views, but I think that we need to get the document as soon as possible if we're going to talk about it in 2 weeks. And I also think it needs to be, like I said, posted more on our agenda next time around so that the public can have access to the document as well before we discuss it. It's a public document.
it is a public document, but not until the 17th
The
I mean-
17th of,
of January.
Okay, we could address
there's-
that
There's
offline.
reasons for that as
yeah,
well.
but yeah. But even if it's not, I think it can still be public document with the explanation this has not been run through Grammarly and spell check and everything else. That's going to be sent out to come back by the 17th. So I think what I'm hearing from the board is they would like to receive it, and we should be posting it as it is now before the 17th, because we're going to have, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting is on the 19th, right? And we can discuss at the meeting on the 19th. At the 17th, we get the clean copy. That's fine. But we'll have, we don't want to get it on the 17th for comments on the 19th. Otherwise, we're going to have the clean copy on the 17th, and then I think, then it's going to be February 2nd before we even move to discuss it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So which would you like to wait for the return, is it the return of it on the 17th from SLR with all the correction from that, and then wait till the February 2nd to be on the agenda for discussion? Does that still meet our time?
I think,
I think that if you allow me just to clarify one additional point, is that when we do make it public per the statute on the 17th, on our website and on the town clerk's records, that there will also be areas in a form on the website, as well as with the document, the hard document at the town clerk, where any public comments can still be accepted at that point too. So it doesn't have to necessarily go through the Board of Selectmen to make any more public comments.
so
So,
Does that make any sense?
so when it's published, so to speak,
For public viewing,
on the 17th of January, there will be, what you're saying is there will be both online and,
hard copies with the
Hard
town
copies.
clerk.
with a clear where, that you could make a public comment
Yes.
on that?
That's correct.
That I didn't know. Okay, okay, is that,
So if you guys feel that that is acceptable,
So I think what's lost in that, and it may not matter at the end of the day if nobody makes comments, what's lost in that is the Board of Selectmen has a role in this process. The Planning Commission has conducted its role, and now the Board of Selectmen is given the statutory 65-day period to review, comment, hear from the public, endorse, reject, provide other comments to the Planning Commission. So the Board of Selectmen has that role, and there needs to be sufficient time for the Board of Selectmen to be able to conduct
to
that role.
review it, and I understand.
So if there's an online portal where public comments are going to be submitted to the Planning Commission for their public hearing, that's not helpful to the process we're in right now. So what I'm saying is, under the statute, the document's given to us 65 days before. It's a public document, because if we wanted to, on December 15th, we could have scheduled a public hearing for December 22nd and, had a public, discussion about it. So I'm just saying we should let's all get that document that, we had, if there was an understanding that we had. Let's post it on the Selectmen site. And let's talk about it at our next meeting and then decide from there whether we want to have any more process.
So are you
From our
suggesting
level.
that we maintain the timeline that we have already initiated for the adoption of this, and then make it contingent upon your review and any additions that you might see necessary? Because what will happen now is that if you have anything that's substantive, then it's going to have to go back in front of the Planning Commission, which will then push the timeline out even further. And as you know, we've already are delinquent with the timeframe that when this was to be adopted. Not,
and I think we've had an extension.
we filed the extension, but then it's going to preclude us from hitting the February 21st date of the public hearing for adoption. But that doesn't mean that when we adopt it, it doesn't mean that it can't be adopted with knowing that there's going to be this, and this change still to be made within the document. So, like, if the Board of Selectmen comes to me and said, I don't agree with a data table that might be as part of the Plan of Conservation and Development, and you think that it needs to be revised or reviewed again, then upon adoption, we could say contingent upon the revision of data deck number 3. I'm just making that up. So, I mean, is that an option? So we can stick to our time frame?
So I think what I'm hearing from the board, if I could speak it, and anybody can just chime in, I think what I'm hearing from the board is, if it's preferred that we get the SLR comb-through document delivered on the 17th, we can put it out to the board on the 17th and the public. We can schedule a public hearing if we would like to. We can discuss it on the 19th, schedule a public hearing for the board meeting February 2nd. You following me, Jason?
Following.
And we can move on February 2nd, whether we feel, however we feel to make any, if there's any changes or questions we have on the 2nd of February. Thank you, guys. I mean, I just want to, I'm trying to get your feeling here and make sure it's what you're looking for.
I think you guys are looking for a solution, and I'm grateful for that, because I'm having difficulty kind of working through the 65 number, and you know, I've expressed in email my concern, but I'm going to say it publicly, my disappointment in SLR and the Planning Commission, because I know both of those groups worked really hard to get this document right, and I do have full confidence that when I finally review the whole document, that for the most part, I'm not going to have any comment because so much time was put into it. But Jason hit at the core of what this is. And for me, it's about respecting the Board of Selectmen and our process. And it feels as if that was a second thought, and that now we're running against deadlines and the pressures on the Board of Selectmen.
It certainly wasn't a second thought. I mean, it's just the progression of how the instrument
I understand.
moved forward, and I apologize.
But you can
if
see how it feels on this side,
Absolutely,
you know,
but
so it's frustrating.
it-
But
it
that's why
really
I've stayed
is.
quiet, because, you know, Jeff and Jason are
However-
working hard to kind of think through a process, so I think that's what we need to do, is, you know, get to a solution. But there's a part of me that just needs to say publicly, this is very frustrating, so that's it.
So if it's okay with
I'm
the
fine with
board, what I would look for here, delivery of the final corrected document, which will be published publicly, and we'll put out an information to the entire town that it's on the website as the final draft, if you will, on the 17th, on or before the 17th, because maybe it's before, if that's fine. But what I'm hearing also is that we're feeling that the 65-day timeline is our timeline for 65 days. And we may very well get this done before 65 days.
I think we would have a better sense of that once we see the document. So it's kind of hard to gauge that.
Absolutely.
So
and-
why
and
don't we,
I can distribute that first thing in the morning.
yeah, and then on the 19th, we'll be in the position to, you know, if there's some glaring issue,
Right.
then we know that,
You want a public hearing or you don't.
you know, then we know that there's an issue here and we need more time, and
Absolutely.
65 days, and that scenario runs starting tomorrow. If nobody has an issue, then it's, you know, we can act quicker, right?
And if the 17th, if the final thing, you know, the update, which I mean by grammatical, you know, there's always going to be public saying, you misspelt this, which is nice, thank you. But the substance of what's in this document will be there. So let's distribute this tomorrow. We'll do it without a link, if that's possible. And we should be able to get in contact with Judy or myself. If it's not, we'll just check it. The update will be on the 17th, which will be good. We'll have the meeting on the 19th, and we can decide if we want to do a public hearing from there, which the 19th, again, a public hearing, would more than likely schedule it for just before the Board of Selectmen's meeting on the 2nd of February. Does that make sense?
And after you all receive it, I would love to hear your feedback at that point, if you think that you're seeing a glaring issue, that it could result in requesting more time, because I need to notify OPM, I need to notify Council of Governments, and so on and so forth, and which I'm happy to do, and I'm happy to oblige, but if you could just give me a heads up so I can be 10 steps ahead to make sure
And
that.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think anyone anticipates any glaring issues. It's just a
No.
matter of, we have
But
to
in
read
all
it
due
before we know.
respect, especially to Selectman Kuhn, if you had known that there was, you had communicated your feeling about it, and if somebody wasn't able to attach or access the link, I would have hoped that somebody would have told me at that point.
Right, and I see your,
And I
I
don't
see your
mean-
perspective on that.
I mean,
If
how, I
I could
had
just
no idea.
respectfully say, through a holiday season, kind of reiterating what I had pointed out, it is a very demanding time, and so that was my concern. But absolutely.
Okay, so it'll be distributed tomorrow. We expect the clean copy on the 17th. We'll immediately, as soon as we get it posted on the website, notify the Board of Selectmen of it. We'll meet on the 19th and decide whether we need to schedule a public hearing on the 2nd. Does this sound?
I actually have a substantive question about the
Yes.
POCD, having seen it. So our board, about a couple years ago, we had this tax abatement group that made various recommendations that the Board of Selectmen adopted concerning open space. And was that discussed during the process? And if so, what, this is just to inform the discussion and thoughts that we're going to have 2 weeks from now. And, you know, if so, what changes were made, if any?
With regard
respect
to the open space?
Acreage issues.
I can't specifically answer that. I again, came in midstream, so I don't know what the discussion might have been as a result of the 2012 plan, but I'd be happy to look into that and
Yeah, this was a.
articulate it.
This was a group that, they were looking at various tax benefits in town. A number of them have been adopted and implemented, and one of them was holding off for at least discussion through the POCD, because that's where it would need to be changed if it was to be changed. And that was how we determined the minimum acreage requirement for open space under
Okay.
PA 490.
Specifically for Public Act 490, or just open space
It was-
dedicated from subdivisions?
How much open
allocation?
space someone would have, how much excess land they would have to have in order to qualify for
490?
490 open space?
The current POCD is one and a half, the minimum acreage in the current POCD is 1.5 the minimum zoning requirement for whatever the zone is. And the recommendation was to be more than that. I don't recall exactly how much or where. And the discussion at that point was, the board, not this Board of Selectmen, the prior Board of Selectmen, voted to approve those recommendations. And almost all of them were implemented. There was senior stuff, veterans stuff, whatever, and this was the last hanging thing that was sort of waiting for the POCD. And there was gonna be discussion about that.
I'll be happy to research that and give you a definitive answer. And you're remembering that it was 1.5% and
Used to be.
1.5 times of the
It's currently is.
district?
Currently,
And you were hoping
1.5%.
to see it at 1.8, 1.9? What was
I
the
don't
discussion?
recall what the
Oh,
recommendation
okay.
was, but it was gonna be a discussion point. It wasn't a certain thing that it was gonna end up in the POCD.
In
It
the
was something that was
POCD.
going to be discussed as part of that process.
Okay,
And I think it was the planning commission that, if I remember correctly, it was the planning commission who would have to open the plan of conservation and development to change it. And they felt the proper time was to wait
until,
till this was done, and said, you know, because there's those who are grandfathered in, so it's not a huge change. It's gonna be whoever now comes in. So they felt it wasn't worth opening up the POCD for that one thing, just to wait for this one. So we can go over that tomorrow,
absolutely.
all right?
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Judy.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for coming out.
Is this going to slide down?
Oh, it
No,
might. It's not the
okay.
end of the world. Next is a motion, because it was not on the consent agenda, so it had to be added. This is a hire. This, Greg, you had some question. This is currently budgeted through a full-time position. It may expand into a full-time, but right now we'd like to fill it with a part-time. In the finance office, it was the accounts payable, AP, budget line.
We'll touch base offline. Truly, I talked to Jason, and he kind of refreshed my memory on where we're at with this, so no question in that respect. But to go through our budget process for the first time as a selectman this year, and now going into it this coming year, in my head, I'm like, where's that line on the budget? I want to see it. So it's just becoming more familiar with the document and seeing where that line is.
Yeah, so we took some time. I think, you know, the explanations, anytime anytime we have a position open, we take the time to, you know, modify, change, decide what is it we're really looking for. Some things have changed in the finance office, and now, because we have accounts, it's all with the new system, the NetSuite Oracle, a lot of it's automated. The work is not there for that, but there's still work picking up other things and being part of the larger picture, if you will, more sophisticated picture. And we had gone out and did the process, and this is the recommendation for the person.
Thank you.
So if I can have a motion,
So moved.
can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, and it passes. First Selectmen's report. Happy New Year. We have a lot of new staff. Despite the busy holiday season, Town Hall has been very busy hiring staff. One of which, tonight we hired, on the consent agenda, our new Senior Services Director, which many have been anxiously waiting for. As you know, the last hiring, we've hired the three new police officers were sworn in on Friday, December 30th. This is exciting. Budgets. The fiscal department and I have been diligently working with our department heads on their prospective budgets. The budgets will be delivered, my budget will be delivered to the Board of Selectmen, again, by February 15th. Public Works, so far this year, Public Works has benefited by the mild weather and is seeing some helpful savings. If the weather continues like this and something really crazy doesn't happen, that will be helpful. As you can see behind me, there's a little chalkboard up there, and there was a little party. John and Jason attended, thank you, it was nice. Lynn Dwyer retired from her position as town clerk. Her last day will be tomorrow. It was nice, there was a number of people from the public, it wasn't just employees and a couple, it was pretty nice. We will be swearing in our new town clerk, Alice Masano, tomorrow morning, and it will be her first official day as town clerk tomorrow. I would like to publicly thank Lynn for her 27-plus years of service to the town of Southbury and wish her well in her retirement. I just want to say that our town clerks that we've had always are very bipartisan, do a very good job. And one of their jobs, believe it or not, is to keep whoever's in the first selectman's office out of trouble too. And that's always been the case here in Town Hall with the department heads and especially with the town clerk to make sure we are doing things correctly and let us know before we make mistakes. So Lynn, good luck in your retirement. We hope to see, her husband is our town historian, so I'm not so sure we're not going to see Lynn around. I certainly hope we do. On the tax collector, Lori Soden, our tax collector, last day is also tomorrow. She is retiring. We would like to thank Lori for her 20-plus years of service to the town and wish her well in her retirement. The tax collector's position was posted last Friday. We already have some responses, and we will get that position filled as we go on. Kevin Bielmeyer has sent me this and asked me to be out at the meeting. Southbury celebrates 350 years of history. We put this press release out that Southbury, Connecticut, the town of Southbury is holding a series of events and activities to celebrate 350 years, that's 1673 to 2023, of community, culture, and history. The year-long series of events will celebrate the past and progress of the one and only Southbury. This 350th anniversary celebration kickoff event will be at the Southbury Library on January 14th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. in the Kingsley Room. Introductory speeches will be followed by a musical journey through history called An American Pop Music Time Machine, performed by Rick Spencer and Dawn. I won't even try to pronounce that last name. This event is free to attend and open to anyone regardless of residency, with the registration link that will be put out below. Justin, you've been involved in this. Probably, I would say kudos to you for probably even more than myself. I hope was asked if I would speak. I certainly would hope that you could speak. We are, no offense to everybody else, but Justin and I have been, and families have been here a long time, and I think both of us remember the tercentennial.
I was born that year, so no, I don't. But I've seen the photos many times, yes.
So I was a little older, and I do remember the ice cream, the biggest ice cream sundae from Baskin and Robbins. I don't know if that was a record. I think it was Guinness.
I think it was.
Yeah. And
But the steering committee's been working very hard on this, and, you know, obviously, this press release talks about the kickoff event. There's gonna be a lot more detail coming out about there's gonna be something every month. I think I've mentioned that to you guys as we move through the year. February is gonna be a winter carnival. There's gonna be things like ice sculptures around where the town's farmer's market typically is held, so out here around the flagpole and stuff. And some winter games. That's gonna be an entire week of activity. And then there's other things that they're gonna keep rolling out as we move through the year. So it's pretty exciting. Just this week, they approved what I think is a very attractive logo and some language to be used in press releases and things like that, so people know what we're up to. So it's, the steering committee's been working hard, and it's got all the right people on it, frankly. So it's exciting stuff. It's gonna be fun.
now, if I remember on the tercentennial, we were requested, many men grew beards.
Yeah, yes.
I haven't heard anything about that yet.
No, I haven't heard anything about that either. And I know personally my beard is heinous, so I'm not going to advocate for that. But we'll see what comes up.
Okay. Great work, and Justin, I know that you've done a great job, and I know you're a big part of that, and I do appreciate that. So we have reports from liaisons. Justin?
So EDC did cancel their last meeting of the year. It would have been on the 21st. And then IPOC will not meet again until a little bit later this year. Strategic Plan is meeting in 2 weeks. They have not met since our last meeting. That's all I got.
Jason?
None of my groups have met since our last meeting, so no report.
John?
We'll make this a trifecta. Haven't met, and actually will not meet until the end of the month, so you'll hear the same report next time.
Greg?
So, Senior Commission, congratulations to our new Director Bouchard for Senior Services Director. That's going to be a great thing for our seniors here in town, for the town itself. And let's see, Energy Task Force, continuing to move forward on identifying a solar project for the town. I know that Chuck spent some time with you in the last week or two, kind of, discussing potential projects, and so we look forward to seeing what we come up with.
Holly?
The Board of Ed did not have a meeting due to illness, but they will be meeting on January 9th. So that'll be our next one.
Wow, if we didn't have Judy here, we would have been, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.